Looking for fascinating conversations with industry thought leaders? Want to get the inside scoop from local legends? Interested in the stories behind the stories from celebrated visionaries? This is your home for the best our university has to offer. Welcome to We Are IU.
Welcome to We Are IU. I am your host, Nattie Meador, Associate Director of Alumni Engagement at the IU Alumni Association. And today's episode's a little spicy. We're diving into the growing world of collegiate pickleball, where IU isn't just competing, we are dominating. I am so excited to get into this conversation with our championship Indiana University pickleball team. Team, how are we today?
All good.
Good.
Great.
I'm so glad that you all are with us. I thought to get us started, we could go around and do a bit of introductions and background. Carter, I'd love for you to get us started. Let us know your name, perhaps what year you are at IU, and what got you interested in pickleball?
Yeah, so my name is Carter Maris. I just finished up my freshman year at Indiana University, so I'll be a sophomore next year. And funny enough, my older brother actually went to IU as well, and he played on the club team his senior year. And so at the time I was playing soccer. I played soccer my whole life in an academy team, and he was telling me how fun pickleball was when he joined the club team, and he started to get super into it. And so during over a Christmas break that he had, the whole family went out and we started playing, and I fell in love with it, and it's been a journey ever since.
That's awesome. How about Mevish? I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so you don't want to know what year I am in my doc program, but I'm currently a PhD student at Indiana University. And so, yeah, my story of getting started in pickleball is a fun one. So in 2022-ish, so I've been playing pickleball for about 3 years now. I was going through kind of like a difficult season of life, like just entered the doc program during COVID, was transitioning out of collegiate sport, and I was like, I need something competitive or just active back in my life. So I Google searched pickleball in Bloomington, and I came across Timber's name, and I emailed him, and soon enough I got into this league that Timber ran and got a bunch of Bloomington uncles and started playing recreationally and occasionally in 2022, and then IU pickleball, and now in the pro pickleball space. So it's been a fun journey.
That's so fun. I think some of us at one time or another have Googled pickleball clubs in our community, and I love the connection that it's brought you, and I can't wait to dive into that. So you mentioned Timber. Timber, I'd love to get to know you a bit better and how you became involved with the IU pickleball team.
So there was a student, Sam Hutner. He's just graduated. Sam and I had kind of started a recreational team at IU, and Sam, be 3 years ago, 3 years now, upcoming in September, Sam called me and said, "Did you know there's competitive pickleball in college?" And I was like, "No, but I do know two students we're going to call right away. One of them being Mev, and one of them being Carter Wittendorf, who's on our team." And so it's just kind of taken off from then. It's just been an absolute joy in my life to be a part of this.
That's so exciting. And John, how about you?
So I graduated from IU many, many moons ago, but I played collegiate tennis down there. And so as I was winding up my tennis career, friends asked us if to start playing some pickleball. So I went out and played for 4 weeks, and I entered the U.S. Open, and I won the U.S. Open. So it kind of hooked me. So I've been playing competitively for the last 7 or 8 years, and I travel around the country and play my division and really enjoy it. And I'm very excited to be involved with the program. Timber's energies, it's been magnificent. The kids have been terrific.
I've always been so curious because I hear a lot of folks who are former tennis players who have entered the space of pickleball. And considering that the Indiana University team is really competitive, y'all have had a lot of really great success over the last few years. And so I know people would be very interested in hearing how the IU pickleball team got started and the competitiveness of the program versus the recreational sort of side of things as well. So can someone start us off and talk a little bit about what training looks like for the team and actually what the team name is? I'd love to know that as well. Carter, maybe you could get us started.
Yeah. Well, I obviously am newer to the team. Timber can touch a little bit more than I can on, how the team got started and stuff. But I will say we have a very passionate group out there, and the club team as a whole is pretty big. I think we had this past season around 35, and obviously some a little bit more dedicated than others, but every person on the team brought a fun element to the team and made it the community that it was.
Timber, what are your reflections on some of the as you think about how the team has grown over the years, maybe from the start of your idea with Sam some few years ago, how it's grown and what you see it to be today?
Well, we just had our fourth national championship. It's really new. We got into it. We've been to three of those national championships, and that first year, nobody knew us. We were a new team that came out of nowhere. We played in a big regional in Michigan, and we had Mevish, and we had Sam and Carter Wittendorf and Taya Bertolini, who's coming back to the team this year. And we came out of nowhere and won that tournament. Nobody knew about us, so we just made a big splash on the scene. College pickleball is largely, the men are important, but it's largely about the women since it's a co-ed sport. And having quality women like that first year we had Mev and Taya was amazing. But we've really grown along with the sport. And like Carter said, we've got way more people than we can take. But I did kind of want to address what you said, because college pickleball club is the highest level of college pickleball. There's no varsity. There's some very small schools that have kind of picked up varsity programs that they play against us. So unlike other club sports, which maybe there's a varsity, quote, above them in college, we don't have that. We're the highest level. And because we're not an NCAA sport, we have rules that allow really top pros to play. Mev's a pro, and she plays. Jack Monroe plays for Texas, I'd say a top 20 player in the country. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to compete with those folks. But as far as our name, we are the Indiana Hoosiers. Just like any other Indiana team, we're the Hoosiers.
I love that. That's so exciting. And certainly, Mev, I think it would be so cool how you're able to play at the professional level and also contribute probably so well to the Indiana Hoosier team too. I'd love to hear your experience on the team and what practices look like. What's your day look like as you, or perhaps your week look like as you prepare at this level?
Yeah, so I was in Bloomington, Indiana for 4 years, and the years that Indiana pickleball existed, I was training with the team at that point, and that was actually the time that really got me into just routine practices. We had practices like 2 to 3 times a week, and a lot of times on those non-traditional practice days, I'd play with the guys and girls on the IU pickleball team as well. So IU Pickleball Club is really what got me started with those routine and regular practices, which I think is really important to play at a high level, just making sure you're staying consistent with getting practices in as well as getting match play in. So that was another great thing that IU Pickleball was great for, was we were getting constant tournament play and match play. You go to these college tournaments, and I mean, I got 23 matches in at college nationals. So there's nothing that beats that tournament experience. So I think that was a huge part of what helped me in the pro space as well, was that tournament experience. And now in the pro space as well, it's that same, like getting your practice reps in and getting that tournament match experience in that really helps you compete at the highest level, and then also just having the support system that's necessary to provide the resources and just create the structure that's needed to have those practices and be able to participate in those tournaments. And we've been fortunate with IU that we've had that internal Indiana University support, and then also outside support, whether it's coaches like Timber or people like John Moran who are alum that have really helped create the resources and structure for us to excel. So I think that's also what makes IU unique.
It is really inspiring how supportive the Indiana University community is, whether you're a student at IU or an alum who's really interested in making an impact. And John, as you were talking about your experience as a tennis player and then having a lot of success in the pickleball space as well, and now it sounds like coming back supporting this group of students, I'd love any reflection you have on how you see our students really embracing pickleball at Indiana University very successfully, 4 national championships, and some of the reflection you may have around their training and what it takes really to win at this level consistently year over year.
Well, I think Mev kind of hit it on the head. I mean, it really takes a lot of repetition, and it also takes some coaching because, the difference between good and great sometimes can be a small thing here or there. And, hopefully what I'm trying to bring is the ability to kind of look at what's going on and break down a few things and, bring some of that experience I have. I, I still play competitively at a senior professional level, so I'm around some of the best teachers in the country because usually as you get older, you think you know everything, and I'm no exception, even though I really don't. But it's fun to try to then give some of those experiences, back to the younger generation of some of the situations I've been in, and kind of the mentality of what it takes to win, and grind things out to get on the side of getting a win. We've got a great group of people, and Timber's really the glue to all that. I mean, been a fantastic organizer, cheerleader, admin person, and I think that the reason that I'm here strictly is to try to maybe help coach some of these players so that we can take them up a half level or a quarter level, so that when it comes down to crunch time, that maybe they've got some coaching that some of these other kids don't have, and hopefully it makes a difference on the court for IU.
That's so inspiring. As you were talking about the competitiveness of the team, gosh, in all of these matches that you all play, the national titles that you all have, everyone loves a good rivalry, right? Can you all talk a little bit about the Old Oaken paddle? I know, Timber, I want you to get us started on this because I'd love to know what that rivalry looks like and what the Old Oaken paddle is.
So we had the idea a couple of years ago, obviously taking after the Old Oaken bucket. I got a bourbon barrel donated, and my uncle, shout out to Uncle Jim. Uncle Jim cut a paddle out of the barrel. So it's an Old Oaken paddle, and for 2 years now we've played Purdue in a dual meet, and we are 2-0. But here's what I really want to share about that is the uniqueness of pickleball in general, and especially college pickleball. I mean, I grew up in Southern Indiana. I was taught to hate Purdue like I was supposed to. That's what you're taught when you're a Hoosier. But pickleball, it is so almost kumbaya at the college level. Now, there's some competition going on, and I mean, some real rivalries. But I kind of helped Purdue get their team started, and no one is a bigger supporter of IU pickleball than the Purdue team. We're very, very close friends. Now, they're getting better, so it's getting a little more heated. They did beat us, not in the paddle, but they did beat us. Carter Maris was part of the only defeat Purdue's ever gotten on us, but we got revenge on them. But so in the national championship, Purdue got knocked out of the Sweet 16, okay? We won our Sweet 16 match and went on to the Elite 8. So we're all sitting there in this incredibly competitive match. Mev and Carter were both playing. And I look behind me, and the entire Purdue team has come and sat behind us in our cheering section. And I looked around at the team captain, his name's Sebastian, and I kind of put my hand on my heart like, thank you. And he said, don't put this on social media. But at the national championships this year, a different championship, I was out with my team having supper, and I get a text from the Purdue team, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm having supper. I'm just finishing up supper with my team." They said, "Well, when you're done, come over to our condo. We're playing poker and watching the basketball game." I'm thinking, I don't think a lot of Indiana coaches are getting invites from the Purdue team to come over and hang out, and that's just what I love. Like all these, everybody else on this screen is 5 times the pickleball player I am. But I always say my favorite part of pickleball is waiting to play pickleball. Just hanging out, the community is unbelievable. And in the same thing on our team, just the community and getting to know other teams. I've got a million stories about other teams. It's just it's one of the sweetest. We're in a world right now that doesn't have a lot of sweetness. And I feel like this is a sweet part of the world that I hope we can protect.
Oh, I love that reflection. And it is so true. I was looking through some of the things you all do such a great job with your social media. And it really does. There's something really unique about being incredibly competitive, right? Mev, I mean, you're playing at the professional level. Carter, I know it sounds like you've had a family affair with pickleball. We can be competitive and still be fiercely protective of the community, right? That we get to be a part of. And it looks like from some of the other really competitive teams that you all get to interface with, that there's this shared respect and love of the game, which I think is really, really cool. And something that, to your point, Timber, is probably something to cherish right now. And so I love what Indiana University is doing with the pickleball team. And it also is just really wonderful that we're doing really good. I mean, I think it's very fun to win, right? And so, Carter, as you're looking toward, let's see, coming into your sophomore year, right, or junior year, what are you most looking forward to coming into this next season?
Well, I'm obviously super thankful for the coaching staff that we have. We're bringing on John Moore this year, and he has a ton of experience, and I know he's going to be a huge help to the team. And so I'm super excited about that. And I think we've obviously, like throughout the past year, the group has grown a lot, and we've all gotten a lot better and gotten a lot closer. And so I'm hoping we can make a couple of national championship runs this year.
That's exciting. Mev, how about you? What are you looking forward to?
So my time with IU pickleball is going to decrease just being in the pro space now. But, what I hope to continue to do is just really instill belief in the team, whether that's through messages or being able to show up or play at some of the events. We've got a crew that has a lot of skill and potential. And that was something while I was on the team, I really wanted um, them to realize because, they're still young. I think they don't necessarily know like the potential that they have. So that's something that I hope to continue to emphasize is just how talented they are and how well that they can do. And so I think that's how I hope to contribute to the IU team mostly.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned, I mean, the club's grown, right? You say the club has grown significantly over the past couple of years. I'd love to know, perhaps from John and Timber, what you see. Timber, you started talking a little bit about the power of community, and I think that's what makes this group so special. But as people are listening and thinking, like, if you're a student and you're listening and like, maybe I want to join the pickleball team, or you're an alum and you want to go watch a match, can you talk a little bit about what makes the team so special and how it's growing so much?
So I want to speak to that, and then I'd like John to speak a little bit to some of the competitive measures. So the club itself, it's a rec club. We do stuff on campus. It's not necessarily competitive. Sometimes we call it hangover pickleball. Just come out and have a good time. And there's 600 or 700 people in that group. This year we're restructuring a little bit to where we're going to have the varsity team, we can't really call it that, but the high level competitive travel team is going to be a little smaller. We may be down around 16 or so. That really, Carter and some of the guys came to me last year and said, we want a more varsity like experience. And I was like, well, that means you can't be calling me on Sunday night saying I can't come to practice tomorrow because I got a fraternity meeting or whatever. You got to, if it's going to be varsity, we got to treat it like varsity. So that's really when we brought John in, and John was very much saying, listen, if we're going to do this, we got to take care of these kids. There's a lot of money in pickleball right now, and there's certainly a lot of people that are interested in getting to and through college kids promoting their brands, whether it's pickleball or not. And so John's been instrumental. We've got a budget, a six-figure budget this year we're trying to raise, and maybe a little bit more next year because we'd like to start offering our version of some scholarships. That's kind of in the plans. But what really the best thing we did this year was bring John on. It's not just John. We've got Carter's dad, Matt, helps coach, and Kirby and Courtney Shedd have been a huge part of this program and got us started, and they've moved a little further away, so it's harder for them to be a part, but they're still part of the staff. But so John, could you take over and talk a little bit about, both on and off the court, what it's going to take us to be competitive?
Yeah, I mean, off the court, I'm working hard with Timber and the rest of the team to try to, raise enough money so that, if we're going to travel these events, the kids don't have to worry about hotel and airfare and, just like the experience I had when I played college sports, right? I mean, I wasn't paying entry fees to go play, Northwestern in the Big Ten, right? So, the alumni have been pretty generous so far. We've got some fundraisers. We're off to a pretty good start. We've got some manufacturers that have given us sponsorships. So I think there's more money in the program probably this year than last year. And we hope to maybe make sure that, the kids don't have to call their parents and say, hey, we need to go do this. And, you need to come out of pocket. So that's kind of the goal. So we've got some fundraising things that we're going to do. We've got some gear that we're having made up. We think there's a big IU alumni association that'll help support us with some of that stuff. We've gotten some donations. I'm sitting at Pickle on Pen right now and have to shout them out. They're giving talking about competitiveness. So we're working pretty hard this summer to try to bring the levels up with some of the people, because as Timber and said earlier, it's really the women are going to be super instrumental in this for us, and losing Mev is a huge blow. We're hoping we can get her for one or two events, but we have some younger people that we think we might be able to develop. I don't know if we can get them to that level. Mev is the first college pickleball player to ever sign a professional contract, so that was a big win for her and big feather in the cap for IU. But so we're out here a couple of days a week, but really what I think it takes to win is it's got to take focus, passion, and repetitiveness, right? And the ability to listen. I mean, I remember when I was, being coached, I always didn't like what I was hearing, but ultimately you have to trust the process that, the people that are watching have enough experience and they're seeing things that you need to maybe key on and stuff that, to take them to a different level. So the kids have been great so far. I think they've all been pretty enthusiastic. We've had some great team practices, and we continue to do that a couple times a week. They're growing. The practices are growing. I think the intensity is growing. The play is getting better. You can see the improvement coming. So, I think we've got a pretty good chance of making some runs this year.
So we have, John mentioned Pickle on Pen, which has been amazing this summer, what they've done for us. We have a couple other supporters. Our very first and biggest 6-0 Paddles, it's a pickleball company. They signed us to a big contract last year. They've been great. They're a blast to work with. And one of the cool things they did, they gave us a code. They're one of the top paddle companies. If you go to their website and you buy something and you type in the code Hoosiers, you get 10% off, and then 10% of the sale comes to the club. And that's been worth about $300 or $400 a month for us. That's a big deal for us, and we appreciate everybody that's been a part of that. And it's just, we need more of that. And we've got a couple other ones out there as well. I told the kids this year my goal is for their uniforms, they're going to look like NASCAR drivers by the time we get done with them.
Yeah, one of the medical manufacturers I deal with gave us $10,000. They're a regenerative medicine company. We've got a local pergola company that the Bertolinis own. They stepped up nicely. A couple of my former IU tennis team mates have written checks for us. It's been great, and I think there's more in the works, and so we're super excited with the sport. I think bringing some of these practices into Indianapolis, the Carmel area, has been really helpful because it's given us some exposure. Because I think sometimes there's a disconnect between Bloomington and Indianapolis and Carmel and some of these other cities. I noticed that when I graduated from IU, like they didn't know anything that was going on about IU tennis and, didn't really seem to care. So we're going to try to make them care a little bit about IU pickleball.
Well, in a time right now where pickleball is just booming, right? I mean, it's everywhere. My husband and I were going to join a pickleball league. There's pickleball leagues all over the place, right? I mean, pickleball is having a moment, and I think for Indiana University and for our team here, the support, John, that you and Timber are talking about with folks, alumni, businesses, other investors coming in and saying, "Gosh, we want to be a part of this because of the dedication and the passion." And the resilience and persistence of our students, I think, is what is most inspiring, right? Because Carter, I know you and Mev, you all are here to learn and to grow. You're students of Indiana University. You're giving a lot of your time to this incredible sport, and I think that is something really inspiring. And it does inspire other people to say, "I want to get involved in this thing that's happening." So as we are wrapping up, I'd love to hear any reflection on where you hope the Indiana University pickleball team is headed next. We've got, Mev, I love the fact that you are one of the first, you said first, collegiate pickleball players to go professional. That is incredible. And I think something to be said about probably the testament of the dedication you've had to this sport and inspiring other people, the other 300 or 400 people who have signed up to play pickleball at IU, to be inspired to do something similar. And Carter, I know you said you've shared a lot of this experience with your older brother. I'd love to hear your reflection before we wrap on where you hope Indiana University's pickleball team's headed in the future.
Yeah, I can start on this one. I obviously have loved my experience at IU and loved being on the pickleball team. I feel like there's people that I meet through pickleball that I've had connections with that have taken me places that I can't even imagine. I've built so many great relationships through pickleball. Being able to play with my brother, obviously, is always a good time. I wish I would have had the chance to play with him 1 year at IU, but he graduated as I came in. So we share fun times playing in tournaments together outside of the collegiate space. But for IU pickleball, I mean, obviously it continues to grow. I have people who come up to me like on a weekly basis that ask me about IU pickleball and ask me about the club and how they can get involved. So I always try to, push the club as much as I can and tell them to come out and try out, because whether it's on the rec side or on the competitive side, there's a space for everyone. So I just hope we can continue to grow and continue to build the amazing community that we already have.
Yeah, I think Carter spoke to that very nicely, especially what he was saying there at the end. I hope IU pickleball continues to just be a space for everyone, which is what it has been, whether you just want to play socially and meet people, you're a freshman and, just want to connect, or whether you have dreams of going pro. It's proven to be a pathway to play pro as well. So I think just IU being that vehicle for a good time, well, hopefully a good time either way, whether you're just playing socially or with goals of playing professionally. But yeah, that it continues just to be a space for everyone, and there are the resources and structure to pave the way for whatever you want it to be, which we've been fortunate that, again, we've had the support systems and the people that are dedicated to doing that.
For me, I mean, I love winning. I love going out and, being a part of something that's so good. But for me, it's really the students. Mev, I've said this to Mev at least 10 times. She would be one of my favorite people on the planet if she had never picked up a pickleball paddle.
Amen.
And I'm really glad she did. Last week, it was so funny. Carter called me and he was in the car with his brothers and we talked for like an hour. And I got off the phone and my wife, Christine, said, "Who were you talking to?" And I said, "The Maris boys." And she said, "What did they want?" I was like, "Oh, we were just chatting. We were just talking." And she goes, "You need more age appropriate friends." And I was like, "No, I really don't. I love hanging out with these people. They're a blast." And I'm so excited this year that John Morin has joined the team, because now I'm not the oldest person in the program. So he beats me by a year. But it's been the time of my life.
Yeah, and then for me, again, winning's important. It's not everything, but I hope we have some nice victories. I hope we beat Purdue. I hope we continue to grow the program. I think we've got a good chance at that. I think one thing we haven't mentioned on this is, Carter Maris is. We had two All-Americans last year at IU. Mev was one, but Carter Maris is also first team. Carter's also an All-American, and he comes from an unbelievable family. He's an unbelievable leader, and I look for continued great things from him. It's super fun. As I am older than dirt at this point, it's fun to kind of work with young people with great energy that are great, and to have fun with them. So I guess my reflection is, I want to continue to try to grow the program. We're in talks with some shoe manufacturers. We're in talks with some gear people. So to try to bring more, money to the program, more notoriety to the program, get some good wins, hang some more banners, and just kind of enjoy the ride along with what Timber's really built and started.
Well, this conversation surely has inspired me, and I can't wait to come out and watch some of the pickleball matches as well. So I really appreciate each of you taking time to share a little bit about your experience and perspective on the team. We certainly have loved listening and hearing more about the pickleball team. So until next time, if you are a longtime player or you're just getting started, we hope this conversation inspired you today. The dedication, focus, passion, competitiveness of our collegiate pickleball team is inspiring. It is a reminder of the power of the Indiana University community. And like Timber said, the best thing about pickleball is waiting to play pickleball. So go play pickleball. We are IU, and we can't wait to chat with you again soon.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of We Are IU. Your home for fascinating conversations with thought leaders, legends, and visionaries from the university we know and love. New episodes available monthly at myiu.org.